Max, I want to thank you for coming on Doing a Thing. It has been a long time coming. Mm-hmm. We've discussed for a little bit about the medications that you were given as a child, and it seems like a compelling cause to talk about, especially in the age of over-prescription of medications these days. I wanted to know what it was like to talk to someone who didn't have a choice really in the say, and how did it affect you? You were given Abilify as a child, and I just wanted to get to the root of why did they prescribe it and at what age?
I was 11 when I was prescribed Abilify. I was given Abilify for severe depression and anxiety. That's mainly what I was prescribed it for.
What was the final event that convinced your parents to get you on an antidepressant?
I was suicidal. Yeah, severely depressed. I was threatening to kill myself. And so my mom thought it would be a good idea to maybe get me on some medication.
What side effects, if any, did you experience from Abilify?
The side effects that I felt when I was on Abilify that affected me negatively were hypersexuality, just uncontrollable urges to masturbate, and among some other things I don't really want to get into, but it was a lot of sexual stuff. It was a lot of just puberty. I honestly believe that Abilify really fucked up puberty for me. Like, it really just made that whole process a struggle. Because it did help with my depression, but it also, how to explain it, it heightened my sexuality. It gave me urges, and that's how I coped with the depression. It gave me a coping mechanism, which was, I'm going to feel this euphoria from doing this stuff. And I was depressed sometimes. I was still anxious on it, but I had a way to escape that.
I find it interesting, though, that the medication didn't necessarily solve the depression. It just gave you...
It numbed it.
Yes.
It essentially numbed it. And that's the thing about depression medications like Abilify. They don't solve the depression. They just postpone it. You going off this will eventually, unless your life has taken a dramatic change, and that's the premise, right? You take this medicine, and then while you're on it, you can at least live your life. And then when you're ready to go off it, if you ever are, hopefully for the pharmaceutical companies, you never go off this medication because they want to keep making a profit off of your sadness. And, essentially that's what their goal is. But you can, live on this medication and get up in the morning, go to your job, live your life, go to school, whatever it is you need to do without feeling this thing on your back, this monkey on your shoulder that's always, bothering you and keeping you down.
But it never got rid of the monkey.
No. It didn't get rid of the monkey.
Did you experience any physical side effects from taking Abilify?
Going off the medication, I developed tardive dyskinesia, which is, muscle spasms, involuntary muscle movements. I did a lot of this. I had to, sit there and, squeeze my hand and make a fist. And, I did have some, facial tics as well that lasted well over a year after going off this medication. And, I had gone to see a neurologist, and he said he didn't know whether this would be permanent or not because, that's one of the severe side effects of Abilify is permanent tardive dyskinesia.
What do you think needs to change in the medical industry overall so that way the negative consequences of taking this medication can be limited from someone else, whether it be a new class of what needs to change so that way your story isn't repeated?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's in the medical community that things need to change as much as it is, laws and how we hold these pharmaceutical companies accountable for their actions. Because the thing about Abilify is, and I didn't find this out until years after going off the medication, And now, there's this class action lawsuit that's being filed against the companies and everything because they willingly omitted this information from the public. They kept these severe side effects off the list of side effects when talking about, telling people, hey, you might have hypersexuality, impulsive gambling, binge eating, stuff like that. You might suffer these things. Instead of telling people that, they just hid it. They said, okay, well, this is gonna, for whatever reason, maybe they wanted to sell more pills. I imagine that's probably the most likely, scenario. But they saw, I guess, these side effects as something too dirty for the drug and people wouldn't take it or something. I don't know. But that cannot happen. And then for them to pay such a little fine.
Do you feel that your life was improved because they put you on these medications?
On Abilify? No, I feel like my life was almost ruined. I mean, it affected the way I socialized with people. It threw me into depression and exile, and I feel like I've really been emotionally harmed by this medication. I feel like I could have been given something else. There are times when I've contemplated suicide again just because of what I've gone through with this medication. Those are years I'll never get back. Those are years that many people, I think, would find precious to themselves. Your younger years, teenage years, when things are a bit more carefree. We have all this shit going on now in this world, and when you grow up, you realize things and you see things in many different aspects. And I just wish I could go back and, tell my younger self, you need to get off this medication. You don't need this. But, you can't do that. That's how I feel, though. I feel like I've been robbed of 6+ years of my life.